Hello friends. Today we will remember and talk about the brightest fights of Iron Mikey, which entered the history of world boxing, and you can't argue with that, as well as about his real lifelong fight. For 20 years in the ring, Tyson had 58 fights, 50 wins, 44 by knockout, 6 losses, 2 fights were declared invalid. He became the absolute world champion. In different years he owned belts according to the versions of the World Boxing Council, WBC, the World Boxing Association, WBA, and the International Boxing Federation, IBF. Tyson's first rival in the professional ring was compatriot Hector Mercedes. Behind him were 3 defeats in 3 fights. But even such depressing statistics did not portend such an easy victory for the future world champion. Tyson dropped questions about the winner in the first round, giving Mercedes almost no time to realize exactly what was going on in the ring. Already in the first minute of the fight, Tyson pinned the opponent in the corner, delivering a series of powerful and accurate blows. At some point, Mercedes managed to get out of the corner, only for Tyson to lock him in another. Then Iron Mike delivered a powerful blow to the liver, after which Mercedes collapsed to one knee. The debut fight of one of the strongest boxers in the world ended in 1 minute and 47 seconds after it began. On the way to the fight for the WBC world title, Tyson had 27 fights, 27 wins, 25 by knockout. His rival Trevor Berbick won the championship belt less than a year ago, and the fight with Tyson was the Jamaican's first title defense. Champion status and ambitions drove Berbick forward, but Tyson met his opponent tough, repelling the desire to get involved in an open exchange of blows. At the end of the first round, Berbick barely stayed on his feet after a left hook to the head. Fortunately, the gong sounded. The second round began with a knockdown of the Jamaican. The beating of the champion title holder continued. 40 seconds before the end of the round, Tyson managed a bunch of uppercut hooks, after which Berbick managed to get to his feet only on the third attempt. The referee stopped the fight, as a result of which Tyson earned $1.5 million, and his opponent, $2.1 million. In this fight, Tyson became the youngest world heavyweight champion, and also the first, whose blow 3 times in a row made the opponent rise and fall. Tyson approached the fight against undefeated IBF world champion Tony Tucker, possessing WBC and WBA belts. Tucker was the toughest opponent early in Tyson's career. The first rounds of the fight were left for Tucker, but he failed to develop an advantage. The boxer preferred to either keep his distance or engage in a clinch. Tyson, despite an injury to his right hand, took the initiative, mainly striking with his left hand. He failed to knock out Tucker, but he confidently won on points, which was recorded by all the judges after the final gong. Tyson's other serious opponent was former WBC and IBF world champion Larry Holmes. At the time of the fight, the experienced boxer was 17 years older than the current absolute champion. Tyson seized the initiative from the very beginning. Holmes lasted 3 rounds, and in the 4th he was on the floor 3 times, after which Tyson knocked him out. For Holmes, this knockout was the first in his career. After losing to Tyson, the former champion announced his retirement, but returned to the ring in 1991. He fought his last fight in 2002, at that time he was 53 years old, which is a kind of record for heavyweight champions. Tyson approached the fight with the strongest British heavyweight of that time, Frank Bruno, in a difficult psychological state. He was simultaneously litigating with a promoter and engaged in divorce proceedings. The duel against the Briton was the first for Tyson in 8 months. Before that, he fought at least once every 3.5 months. The last weeks of preparation for the fight turned out to be crumpled due to Tyson's personal problems. Despite all this, Tyson sent Bruno to the floor immediately after the gong, continuing to handle the opponent with powerful blows both to the body and to the head. The climax came in the 5th round when the Briton was pinned against the ropes. He limply took the opponent's blows. Serious injuries were avoided, because Bruno second threw in the towel and thus stopped the fight. Tyson approached the next title defense in poor physical and psychological condition due to divorce and litigation. The opponent of the champion was probably the weakest possible opponent of that time. Tyson's chances of winning were regarded by bookmakers as 42-1. Tyson acted in a manner unusual for himself. He was slow and poorly closed from Douglas blows. Despite this, the champion managed to knock down the challenger in the 8th round. Douglas was on the floor for more than 10 seconds, but the referee did not notice this. In the 9th round, Tyson's fatigue was already evident. His opponent waited for an opportune moment. In the middle of the 10th round, Douglas sent Tyson to the floor with a series of sharp blows. He almost immediately got to his feet, but the referee, counting to 8, stopped the fight. After parting with the title of absolute world champion, Tyson unsuccessfully tried to achieve revenge with Douglas. As a result, he was forced to fight for the place of the contender for the duel with the champion. The search for an opponent was not easy. As a result, Olympic champion Henry Tillman became his opponent. Boxers met twice at the amateur level. The fights took place as part of the selection for the 1984 Olympics. The judges both times made a controversial decision, giving the victory to Tillman. He eventually won the gold of the Games in Los Angeles. The fight itself was short. 13 seconds before the end of the first round, Tillman received a crushing blow to the head. At the expense of 10, he was still on the floor, and Tyson, almost 6 years later, took revenge on an opponent who deprived him of a chance to compete at the Olympics. The duel against Canadian Donovan Ruddock was scheduled for November 1989, but then Tyson refused the fight, citing illness. The boxer, who was at that time the champion, chose James Douglas as his opponent, who inflicted his first defeat in his career. Tyson and Ruddock fought for the right to meet the winner of the fight for the title of absolute world champion, George Foreman, Evander Holyfield. From the very beginning of the fight, Tyson acted more aggressively, knocking down his opponent in the 2nd and 3rd rounds. Despite the onslaught of the former absolute champion, the Canadian held on well and tried to answer him. In the 7th round, Tyson succeeded with a left hook to Ruddock's jaw. He swayed and leaned on the ropes. The referee made the controversial decision to stop the fight. After the gong, a brawl began in the ring with the participation of the teams of both boxers. She was stopped thanks to the prompt intervention of the guards. 3 months later, a rematch took place. Ruddock lasted all 12 rounds, but the judges unanimously gave the victory to Tyson. This fight is one of the most famous in boxing history. The first duel between Tyson and Holyfield, which took place in 1996, ended with a sensational victory for the second. Tyson came to revenge in the status of a favorite. From the very beginning of the fight, Holyfield, like a year ago, broke the rules. He hit his head. After one of these attacks, Tyson had a cut, but the judge ignored this episode. In the 2nd round, Holyfield continued to tie his opponent's hands, preventing him from escaping. In the middle of the round, he fell on Tyson at the ropes, because of which both boxers almost fell. At the end of the round, Holyfield hit Tyson on the back of the head, but the judge again did not notice this. In the 3rd round, the advantage was on the side of Tyson. He almost did not miss any blows. 40 seconds before the gong, Holyfield again hit Tyson with his head, for which he bit off part of the opponent's right ear. The fight was suspended. The doctor who examined Holyfield considered that the boxer could continue the fight. Tyson again began to press. In response, his opponent again hit his head in the eyebrow. In retaliation, Tyson bit the opponent's left ear. The judges did not stop the fight. Tyson tried to finish off his opponent, but the gong prevented him. Holyfield did not reach the 4th round, which is why Tyson got into a fight with the guards and the police. As a result of the fight, Tyson was disqualified. The Nevada State Athletic Commission deprived him of his boxing license. In addition, he was fined $3 million plus costs. Tyson got his license back in October 1998. In 2009, Tyson apologized to Holyfield on the Oprah Winfrey Show. He forgave the former rival and accepted the apology. One of the highest-grossing boxing fights in boxing history, 1.95 million paid views, $106.9 million. Tyson came to the fight with Lewis not in the best shape due to problems with drugs and being overweight. Despite this, the bookmakers considered him the favorite in the duel with the Briton, who defended the WBC, IBF and IBO championship belts for the first time. The first 2 rounds were held with the advantage of Tyson, but after that Lewis managed to seize the initiative. The accuracy of the blows of the former champion began to wane. Lewis tied his hands and hung on his opponent. In the 4th round, this tactic helped the Briton knock the opponent to the floor, but the judges did not count the knockdown. Starting from the 6th round, Tyson almost stopped defending himself. He had less and less strength left. In the 8th round, Lewis first knocked Tyson down with an uppercut, and towards the end of the round he sent the opponent to the floor with a right hook. At the expense of 10, Tyson managed to rise to 1 knee and the judge recorded Lewis's victory by knockout. And now we finally got to the last and perhaps the toughest and longest fight of the great boxer, which has been going on to this day. The whole life of Iron Mike is a real battle with himself and his own demons, from childhood to the present day. The reasons for Tyson's broken psyche are a difficult childhood. Even in his youth, he began to develop depression. He often began to drink antidepressants. Once I was a scared little boy, constantly beaten by his mother in a house in Brooklyn, and then I myself turned into the worst person on the planet, says Mike. After a series of events known to you and me in Mike's life, high-profile lawsuits and complete bankruptcy, Iron Mikey decided to settle down and devote himself to his family. He even stopped eating meat, began to practice Islam and act in films almost regularly. But on the comedy The Hangover, he, by his own admission, worked most of the time in a cocaine haze. Moreover, in his autobiography, Mike admits that not a day goes by that he does not think about those days when he got hooked on drugs and alcohol and thought about women day and night. Mike is very grateful to his current wife, fashion designer Kiki Spicer. However, he admitted that recently he began to drink again. Moreover, he notes that he is constantly on the verge of a breakdown. Sometimes I imagine that I'll smash someone's head and go to jail forever. Tyson is extremely frank. While working on the book, I realized that my whole life has been a cruel joke. There were periods in which Mike felt disgusting. He had a deep depression, and he feels that there is nothing of value in his life. The boxer believes that his intemperance is the work of the unclean. Terrible demons live in me, with whom I constantly fight, but who always win. I hate my life and myself, boxer Mike Tyson. Maybe in my next life I will be more lucky and I'll be normal. I really don't want to live anymore and I'm looking forward to my death. In general, in the epilogue of his memoirs, he writes that he again attends meetings of the Society of Anonymous Alcoholics. I really want to improve and become good. Mike Tyson's The Undeniable Truth ends with these words. I have experienced a lot of pain in my life and I want to be cured. I will do my best to achieve this. Slowly, day by day, I will become a healthy person. And on that note, let's wish Iron Mikey a speedy recovery, and hope he's doing well.